Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good, good. Well, I just want to say welcome to the 2019 BS Pre-Licensure Information Session. So everyone in here is either a parent or they're in high school or at the community college or the university thinking of applying to our freshman program, entry or transfer, right? Yes, awesome. Okay, so again, thank you everybody for attending. And not too long ago, myself and my colleagues were sitting in the simulation lab going over the details and what's going on with that. And one of the professors showed us this video. So we thought it was really cool, and so it's something we wanted to show you. So here it is.
Good morning, how are you? Good to see you this morning.
Do you have the discharge instructions?
Yeah, I'm just going to pass off, and Nora's going to be taking care of the discharge instructions.
I'll be the nurse taking care of you today.
We're going to start an extra line on you.
Here at UCLA School of Nursing, simulation is a very important piece of the training. It takes a student out of a lecture hall and puts them more into a clinical setting. We have mannequins that have ability to mimic a lot of different patient aspects.
They're able to breathe, their chest rises, they have coughing, wheezing, lung sounds, crackles.
A lot of the higher tech mannequins actually sweat. We can change their pupil sizes, and by computer we also can change any vital sign similar to a real patient. It's a way to get the students more engaged and to get those clinical experiences such that they don't have to actually practice on real patients. ICU simulations are to mimic the environment in an ICU, to add some extra stress, to add some extra equipment that the nurses have now been trained on, and then depict some kind of event that would be typical for an ICU and see how they can react to that event and intervene to make the patient better.
There's a lot of instances where things happen right away, you have to respond right away. It's been able to help me practice my emotions, help me practice how I deal with things.
What's great about simulation is that the student actually gets immersed into a situation. When they get to the ICU environment, it's not foreign to them. The leadership simulation that we do is done for senior students who are nearing graduation. We have 5 patient beds with mannequins simulating an actual clinical floor.
You come in and your nurse will give you maybe like a fast report. They have to go somewhere.
He's a 60-year-old male that was admitted several days ago for an exacerbation of his asthma.
You go to your patient rounds and you go, first patient, okay, you check on them.
How are you feeling? Like dizzy?
Yeah.
But then you hear like a bell from another room.
Okay, I'll let her know.
I'll be quick, okay.
The goal is to give them a little bit of stress because we want them to be able to think as a nurse and to be able to think on their feet.
So Mr. Salter, you're having very low blood pressures.
It can certainly be that chaotic during the day, and that's why we have this for practice, to put us in those situations so we can learn how to think, what to do.
After each of the simulations, it's really important to come together and have a debriefing. The whole point of the debriefing really is for them to reflect on what they were thinking when they did different things, and then if they would do anything different, how would they do it different?
It's really helped us boost our confidence and also helped apply everything we learned in the books to what we see in the real world.
The goal of simulation here at UCLA is to send students out into the clinical world more prepared and better able to tackle some of the more difficult types of cases that they're going to come upon.
All right, that was pretty cool, right? Okay. So this was actually done, I want to say, a few years ago. Craig Kusanoki, who's our Director of Financial Aid, who you guys will meet later, you probably noticed some of the students that were in there. That was a few years ago. And so again, I was there probably a couple months ago, and now our mannequins are giving birth. Yeah, they're bleeding, they're doing all sorts of cool things. So it's really, the simulation is exactly what's going to be happening, you know, when students enter the hospital, you know, with the real patients. So that part is really cool. And so we have students that are entering their 3rd year, those that are undergrads entering junior year, and then we have our master's entry students who are in the skills lab and they're preparing for flu season, right? And so I believe next week they're actually going to start giving flu shots to their, you know, not only classmates, but students around UCLA. So that is something that they learn here in the skills lab and then translate that into the outside world, I should say. Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Mark Coven. I'm one of the admissions and recruitment coordinators here in the School of Nursing. You're going to meet Craig, as I stated earlier, and then outside, the two women that had you sign in, that's Jamie Gama and that's Stephanie Dominic. And so we're all part of the School of Nursing, and we also are in the Recruitment and Admissions office, okay? So later on, you'll see our information. If it's not in the packet, definitely feel free at the end of this session or later on moving forward, if you have any questions, to direct those to us, and we'll definitely be happy to help you. So really the purpose of this information session is really just to give you specific information. Could be things that you didn't really find on the website or things that you may have heard from other people. Well, you guys are sitting here, so you're gonna be hearing it from the source. So that's the good part. And we really just wanna make sure as you finish here that you're gonna feel comfortable applying to our incoming freshman program or into our transfer program, okay? And so just so you guys know, it's pre-licensed, so everyone in here is coming in without the RN license, right? So when you get into our program, we're gonna put you through the program to graduate and then be able to sit for the NCLEX for your RN license. Okay. All right, so for today's agenda, I'll go over the introduction, the curriculum overview, and then Jamie Gama is gonna actually go over the application process and kind of tell you what you need to do in order to apply and how to be a competitive applicant. And then Craig will come, talk about financial aid, and all those sorts of good things. I know he's just as important as we are. And then we're gonna break up from parents to students to transfers into different parts in the factor building, and then we're gonna end it from there. So it says 2 hours, hopefully it'll go by really fast, and then at the same time, you guys will get all the information you need, all right? Okay, so the Bachelor of Science. So again, this program is designed for high school students and/or transfers to enter our pre-license program. It is a full-time program as well, okay? So it is full-time. You would have to dedicate, could be 3 to 4 days a week, 5 days a week, depending on how your class schedule is, your clinical rotation, things like that. So it is a little bit different from, you may have siblings, or you could be in college now and you get to pick a class. You know, you don't want to wake up, so you're choosing an 11 a.m. class, right, or 2 p.m. and things like that. We're actually going to tell you exactly when your classes will be, okay? So it is designed in that specific area. So those that enter as freshmen, as you know, it's a 4-year program, 4-year set curriculum. Those that are transfers, it's going to be a 3-year program. So it is a little bit different from those that want to transfer. You may think it's a 2-year program. For us, it's a 3-year program, and we will go into detail and reasons of why that is a little bit later. So we are also on the quarter system. So it is a little bit different from those that could be familiar with the semester. Semesters are about 16 weeks. Quarters are 10 weeks. So we do move a lot faster, okay? So I always say this, there's pros and cons to a quarter system. We'll talk about the pro, right? Pro is, it's over in 10 weeks. So if there's a class that you don't like, it's over in 10 weeks, okay? A con could be, you can have a midterm week 3 or week 4. So 4 weeks into a class, you already have a midterm, right? So you're thinking, how am I gonna be able to retain this information already and have to spit it out within 4 weeks? And so this here is actually week 3, so students are most likely gonna be having midterms next week, okay? So that's kind of how fast it works. Quarter system, so it's every 10 weeks. Fall quarter is what we're in now, ends in December. Then you have your winter break. Then you come back in January, you start your winter quarter. Winter quarter goes to March, so about the week before spring break. You have your spring break, you come back for your spring quarter, and then we end in June. Okay, so it is a little bit different from semesters. They'll probably start in August, end in May. We start end of September to June. And then summer quarter would be the next one, where depending on the curriculum, you may or may not have to come during the summer. So again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. The last bullet, which you guys see there, is the target in terms of how many students we admit per year. So we will admit 40 incoming freshmen per year and 10 transfers. So the next thing you guys are thinking is, this is a small program, right? It is, it's a small program. So why UCLA? The reason why I pause is because we're a small program, right, inside of how big UCLA is. It's the same thing in terms of the small community inside a big city. So Los Angeles, well, UCLA is a small community within the big, city or county, I should say, of Los Angeles. So in the School of Nursing, it's almost kind of the same feel. The bad part could be for you guys sitting on that side is how can I be one of those 40 or how can I be one of those 10? But once you are one of those 40, you're one of those 10, you're actually going to be getting a lot of one-on-one attention. That could be from your faculty advisor. We have our student service coordinator who you'll be meeting with quarterly. We'll make sure that you're progressing and moving along. We have a peer mentorship as well. So as you guys enter, what we try to do is we try to pair you up with someone who's a year above you. That way you don't just have a faculty member who you may not feel comfortable going to. The best thing to do is ask your classmates or people who's above you, how is this professor, right? Do I have to buy this book, right? Or when do they give us this exam, right? So it's really cool to kind of have that peer one-on-one mentor so you can actually have a relationship with them as well. Another thing that you see here is there's resources on campus. Those that are entering as freshmen, you will have to take the chemistry series. And so the chemistry series is probably one of the hardest classes to take here at UCLA. So one thing that we do offer is tutoring, right? So we do want to make sure that our students are going to be able to progress. You'll see a little bit later in the slides that there's going to be a sample course sequence that you guys should also have in your packets. But you'll see there's going to be 3 chemistry classes that you'll have to take, back to back to back, okay? So that is something that we have available. There's other resources for disabilities, anything you name it. So what we really try to do is we really want you guys to feel you're a student, not only at UCLA, but in the School of Nursing, and that you feel comfortable and confident that you're going to be moving forward, progressing, moving along, so you can meet your end goal, which is to graduate, right? And then take the NCLEX to receive your RN license. We are also a top rated nursing program. If you don't believe me, you can go to the US News and Reports, okay? So we are a top program. We're top 3 as well. And we're really proud about that. I think every year we're reaching our goal in terms of becoming one of the top nursing programs, not only in California, but in the United States. Okay, so some more goals of the program. It's really just to provide the education for you guys to start working in the workforce as an RN. If that's here in the classroom or out doing your clinical rotations, we really want to make sure that you guys are progressing, you guys are learning, right? We want to be able to say, yes, this person graduated from UCLA. They have all the accessibility, right, to thrive in the workforce. We also are going to make sure that we're preparing you to work in a high acuity and high tech healthcare setting and atmosphere. And so you also will see a list of our different partnerships. So we would have you guys go obviously to Ronald Reagan, right? So I know a lot of people want to come to UCLA because they're going to have the opportunity of working at Reagan. If you didn't know, Reagan is typically or usually the top hospital on the West Coast. They usually say west of the Mississippi. So we're talking about all the different states. Right over here is the best hospital, right? So you begin the best teaching. But if it's not that, we'll send you to UCLA Santa Monica. We could send you to Cedars, the VA, Children's Hospital. So you guys will go anywhere as far as Torrance, city of Torrance, up to Northridge and anywhere in between. The reason for it is we want to make sure that you're also receiving, if you're going to different clinical aspects in different areas, that you're going to be seeing how differently the hospitals are ran, right? So you guys may just say, oh, it's just Reagan where I want to go, but it may not be the perfect fit for you. It could be Cedars. Maybe you like working with veterans, so you want to work in the VA. So we're going to make sure that you guys are going to be able to touch and get your feet wet, so, is what they say. So that way, as you guys get ready to graduate, you guys will most likely have a hospital in mind of where you would want to work. I know a lot of people think, okay, so it's not just Reagan, I may have to go to Torrance. I don't have a car, right? Or I have to go to Northridge, I don't have a car. That's where you ask your parents for a car, right? No, right, good, got some laughs. The parents are like, no, no way. But what we try to do is also set it up. You're gonna have a classmate, you're gonna have someone who does have a car, and we're gonna make sure that when we do clinically place you in that area, that you're gonna be able to get there to and from. Okay, so don't worry about that part. Okay, so connection to the nursing program. The reason why we say connection is for those that are entering as freshmen, you actually enter in the program, right? So we'll go on, there's gonna be another slide, or Jamie will talk about it. You have to do the UC application as well as a School of Nursing supplemental application. What that means is when you're admitted into UCLA, you're also admitted into the School of Nursing. So it's a little bit different where if it's another university, you may have some friends that are, again, siblings, and they get to that university, they do their first 2 years, so they could be a pre-nursing major. Then as a student at the university, they have to apply to that nursing program. That's not how it works at UCLA. Once you're admitted, you enter the nursing program, okay? But with that said, your first 2 years, you'll most likely be completing most of your general education courses. But with Nursing 10 and Nursing 20, as well as there could be some other ones, I want to say Nursing 50, which is epidemiology, you will be taking those within your first 2 years. So what we do is, we know you're a nursing student, so we still want to kind of keep you, immersed, right, and involved in the nursing program, so as a nursing student. But it's not until your third and fourth year is where you're actually going to be doing nothing but nursing courses, lectures, clinical rotations, and things like that, okay? Students will meet quarterly, again, with their student service coordinator. So again, we want to make sure that you guys are progressing and moving along forward as well. With that, there's going to be everyone in here, straight A students, 4.0 students, 3.8 students, right? So if you guys are in high school, you're at the college, at the community college, things could be coming to you guys fairly easy at this point. But if you get to UCLA, if it could be a chemistry class, it could be something else, it could be difficult, right? And that's where pride could set in. You may have gotten a C in the class, and you're like, no, but I know the next test, I'll do well. Maybe you might not do well in the next exam. So instead of holding it in, we have our faculty will come to us and say, hey, this student may not be doing so well in this class. Do you want to talk to them? So there could be a time where we come to you before you come to us, right? But we say that to say we don't want that to happen, right? Because we have different resources for you guys. And so that's why when we meet with you quarterly, we're already going to kind of know where you guys are in terms of, right, for that quarter or how you're doing for that year. So it is mandatory, but we want to make sure that we're keeping that close, tight-knit family to make sure you guys are doing well. In terms of student life, we have different organizations that our students belong to. So of course, you guys can do outside activities, right? So we have the Bruin Walk, and the first 2 weeks of the quarter of this new year, they try to recruit you to get into a fraternity, a sorority, to get into intramurals and things like that, right? Sports. But we also have things here in the School of Nursing. So for instance, one thing I love to talk about is GAIN, which is Global Action in Nursing. Because I know a lot of people ask, can I study abroad? So here in the School of Nursing, you cannot study abroad, right? Just because of different stipulations that go along with here in the United States, in different countries, working in hospitals and things like that, it's just not doable. So with GAIN, what we do is if it's winter break, spring break, summer, whatever the instance, I want to say about 10 to 15 students will go together with, I want to say, 2 faculty members to different parts of the world, right? It could be places in Africa. I believe they've gone to Ghana. They've gone to Cuba, so they'll go anywhere South or Central America, and they'll dedicate about 10 to 15 days, I want to say, about 2 weeks, just immersing themselves again in an underserved area and just helping and providing there. So that is a good way for them to get themselves outside, right, of Los Angeles and being able to go to different parts. So you can study abroad, but there are different opportunities to travel the world. We have PANZA, which is a Pan-African Nursing Student Alumni Association. We also have LANZA, which was just created, so that's the Latino. We also actually last week just had a new, organization, which is for the Filipinos. And so we just have a lot of different things that's going on with our program. We have the PICU as well. And we also have Sigma Theta Tau, as well as Wellness in Nursing. Sorry, but on my mind, I just said Men in Nursing. So I should have put that here, but we also have a Men in Nursing organization as well. Cool thing is I am seeing some men in here, right? So we're trying to break that mold of the stereotype that nursing is, a female-based profession. It's still dominated by the females, but it's really good to see that men are starting to get involved. And so we do have an organization for that as well. Okay, so they're just different organizations and different student life opportunities that you guys have here. Okay, so let's go over the curriculum. So if you guys wanted to pull out your sample course sequence, if you like, I think it might make a little bit more sense as I go through this. And so as you see, it says third year, right? Or second year for transfers. Again, remember as you're entering as a freshman, you're not gonna start your clinical rotations until your third year. And if you're a transfer, you're not gonna start your clinical rotations until you're in your second year. So as for your fall quarter, you will do fundamentals in Med-Surg A. Winter quarter, you move on to Med-Surg B. In spring quarter, you move on to Med-Surg C. Summer, so this is the only time where you actually have to come summer in between, from year year 3 to year 4. And that will be maternity and peds. Then you move on to your last year, and that's where fall quarter you do mental health, winter quarter is critical care and public health, and as you see your last quarter before you graduate, you're gonna do what's called immersion. So immersion is you're actually gonna be outside of the classroom, so there's no more classroom work, all right? You won't be in here, right, which is where most of your classes will be. You're actually gonna be out in a hospital in a clinical setting. So at this time, you guys will be able to choose the hospital. So you've gone to different hospitals, different floors, and you're like, you know what? It is still Reagan. So I want to work in Reagan, and I want to work in the psychiatric. So we have a clinical placement team. So you'll be able to give them your first and your second choice of what hospital and what area you would like to go. And they do their best job of placing you there. So you're actually going to be working there for without the 10 weeks. And I believe you do about 300 or a little bit over 300 hours. You will be with a preceptor. So a preceptor is an actual nurse that works in the hospital, and you'll be doing your rotations with them. And with that, you could be doing your 10 or even 12-hour shifts, right? So you're actually gonna be as if you're working as a registered nurse in the hospital in that specific area. So if you have to do 3 12s, right? So 3 12s would be 3 days worth of 12-hour shifts. That's what it would be, okay? So along with that, there is a project that's involved. And so typically people choose a project that they feel is gonna benefit that floor. And it could be anything of your choice. And at the end of it, you'll be able to then present it to that floor, and 9 times out of 10, they actually use it, right? So that part is really cool, is within your last quarter, you've done something that's significant that now the hospital is gonna be using and that they will implement. And then with that, you'll graduate on a Saturday. You'll be able to celebrate only for 2 days, because we're gonna bring you back that following Monday, right? And you're like, wait, I just graduated. But what we do is we're gonna put you through a week-long captain review. So captain review, you'll be meeting with one of our professors. Most likely it's gonna be Professor Denham. And she's gonna be basically teaching you what's on the tests, right? How to take the tests, some secret, tidbits and things like that, okay? So it's that last hurrah, that last week, before we send you off and we say, okay, good luck, okay? So typically a student, again, will graduate middle of June. And then what we do here in the Student Affairs Office, we send your name to the Board of Registered Nursing that says, hey, they've completed the necessary work, right, in order to take the exam. Students will most likely take the exam, it could be in July, early as July, or most likely August, I want to say, right? Also with that, students can already have a job offer. So they'll say, hey, you've got a job, we'll keep it at Reagan, right? You got a job at Reagan, and you're gonna start in September. So you already know I have to pass this exam because I'm starting in September, so you'll be able to study for a couple more months to move along and progress in that. Cool part is, just caught wind that our NCLEX pass rate is at 100%. So the students that just graduated, 100%. That could be a record, but we're always 95, 90%. And now when we say that, it's taking it the first time. So if you're going to different schools and you ask them, hey, what's your pass rate? They should give you the first time pass rate. Always, our students are always going to pass it, right? But at the first time, 100%. So we're really, really proud of that, okay? So again, when you're going out talking to different schools, even though UCLA should be number 1, you're going to ask them, hey, are you actually preparing your students to graduate, 1, and to pass the exam, 2? Okay, all right. So you guys should have the sample course sequence out. And so as you see, I'm not gonna go over them all, but it just kind of gives you an outline in terms of what it looks like to be a student. So this is more tailored for those that are in high school applying for freshman admission. Jamie will go over the transfer part, okay? So you guys can still look at it. It's gonna be a little bit different, but Jamie's gonna go more in detail about that a little bit later. But as you see your first year, you will take Math 3A, Writing 1, the first part of chemistry, and then N10. Math 3A is a calculus, okay? Moving on to winter, you'll do your second part of chemistry. Life science, 7A is a biology course. Then you'll have to take a liberal arts GE, and then in 20, which is the second part of our nursing course. Move on, spring, the last part of chemistry, you'll be happy after that's done. And then you take N13, which is anatomy, and then you're able to take another GE if it's communications or psychology. Moving down the line, as you see, it progresses. So as you see, in order to move on to the next quarter, you have to pass these classes. It's a little bit different, where, oh, if you failed the class, oh, I'll take it next quarter. The ones that you see in that greenish color, that army green, those are our nursing courses, so those you have to pass. You won't be able to progress and move forward if you're not passing those classes, okay? So we'll move on to the third and fourth year. Now you see everything is basically in green. So what does that mean? These are all nursing courses, okay? If you don't know exactly what they are, in the sample course sequence on the back of the page, it should actually give you a description or at least tell you what those classes are. So as you'll see, you'll have that one summer between your third and fourth year, and then you move along into your fourth year to graduate in the spring. So what you'll also see is the number of units. So you guys want to maintain full-time status, okay? Full-time status, that's Craig's part, but if you want to still receive your financial aid and your scholarships and all those sorts of things, you want to maintain full-time status. Fairly easy, right? You're in, you're out in 3 or 4 years. Okay, so time commitment. So this is something that UCLA has, or something that they require in terms of time commitment. What does that mean? So for each unit that is taken, the professor and or UCLA is saying they want you to dedicate 3 hours. If it's inside the classroom or outside of the classroom, 3 hours. So if you're taking 14 units for a quarter, what we're asking for you to dedicate 42 hours. Okay. May seem like a lot for some people, may not, but it depends. Some people can study for an hour, pass the exam, and you've only studied for an hour, right? Or some people may have to do 50 to 60 hours. So it's really going to be up to you in terms of how you deal with your time management, how you do what you're studying. So it's really just kind of an example in terms of what they're asking for you to do. Make sense? Yes. I was a little bit different. I didn't study too much, which is why I didn't probably do too well, okay? But for you guys, put as much time as you can. Okay, all right, so it's on to Jamie Gama. She's gonna go ahead and talk about the application process and what you need to do to become a competitive applicant.
Okay, so this is the website, this huge, long website. It's for the UC application. So remember, 2 application process. The first one, you have to do the UC application, okay? So you cannot start on the supplemental application unless you've already submitted the UC application. And maybe you already know that, okay? So just so you know, the School of Nursing does not see anything you write on the UC app, okay? So there are some essay questions there. The School of Nursing is not gonna see that. We only look at the supplemental application, but you have to fill out the UC application in order to get, admitted to UCLA. So you have to do both, okay? So let me just say that once you do the UC application, you're gonna get like a university ID number, and you'll need that number to fill out the supplemental application, okay? But it tells you there once you submit it. So UC application is due November 30th. Supplemental application is due January 15th, okay? So on the supplemental application, this is what, it's pretty basic. So you're gonna type in your name, your address, email, phone number, the high school you attend, or the college you go to. So just make sure you type your email correctly, okay? Because we're gonna use that information to email you, to get in contact with you, okay? You also need to upload a resume, a statement of purpose, and your recommendation forms. And again, the deadline is January 15th, okay? So we kind of like PDFs. They work better for our system instead of pictures. Sometimes people take pictures of the resume and they upload them. It's okay, but we prefer PDF, okay? So if you can do that, that'll be great. So here's for the statement of purpose, okay? So the statement of purpose should be 3 pages, double spaced, okay? So you also have a tip sheet on inside your packet. So you can look at it. There's some really, really good tips there. But the main question you need to answer is why you want to become a nurse, okay? Pretty easy, but you have to write from the heart. So don't make a general story. A lot of people use the same story, okay? That maybe they visited somebody sick in the hospital and then they want to be a nurse, okay? But that's not a good story, okay? So you write from the heart and you say, this is who I am, these are my goals. So if you have an ultimate goal, maybe to become a nurse practitioner in the future, if you know what a nurse practitioner is, it's an advanced practice nurse that earned a master's degree and they specialize. So if that's your ultimate goal, by all means, write it there, but don't make it sound like you're applying to a master's program, okay? So you know what I mean. So you just talk about your goals for a nursing career, okay? So if you have any multicultural experiences, so we highly recommend that our applicants volunteer in a healthcare setting, that you actually take the time to learn about nursing on your own. And the reason is because the faculty that teach in the program will read your application. 2 different faculty members, they read your statement. And they want to know that you took the time to learn about nursing. That is really what you want to do. That you saw what nurses do. You didn't touch people or anything, okay? You just, looking is good enough, okay? So you're watching nurses and see what they do, and you decided to be a nurse and you know what you're getting yourself into, right? So you don't want to be a doctor, right? If you do, don't write it, okay? So, no, it's just that nursing is different. It's not a stepping stone to become a doctor, okay? So you will be trained to become a nurse, okay? So when you volunteer, maybe you know what nurses do and you know what doctors do, or the respiratory therapist or somebody else, but you still want to be the nurse, and then you write about it. And then maybe you saw people from other cultures there, okay? So then you write about your multicultural experiences, okay? Then if you're bilingual, by all means, write it there, you know, so, and then maybe explain your level or say how you use your, you know, being bilingual. So challenges, you can talk about challenges, adversity, if you're a first-generation college. So remember, if anybody in your family, for example, if you're like the second child, but your parents didn't go to college, you're still a first generation, even if you have an older sibling that already went to college, okay? So everybody in the family is still considered first generation, okay? So you talk about it here. I know, still 3 pages, okay? So accomplishments, shine. So shine all you can. So if there's something you want the reviewer to know that maybe you typed on the resume, but you want them to know, write it, okay? So write about it. Leadership, it counts. Everything outside of the classroom counts. It can be sports, it can be clubs, anything counts, okay? So when we talk about the volunteering, some hospitals have like a pretty structured volunteering programs. We know Ronald Reagan does. So, and they take it very serious. So if you haven't done that, you can walk into any hospital and say, I want to become a nurse. These are my plans. So they don't send you to the gift shop or to the kitchen, okay? So tell them your plans and maybe make friends there, okay? Make good friends. And again, it's still 2 to 3 pages, but take advantage of the 3 pages, okay? So the letters of recommendations, it's a total of 2. So how this will work is that you go into the application and you put your recommender's information, and they actually get an email link from the system that says, so-and-so wants to use you as a recommender, so give them a heads up, okay? Especially if it's a teacher or counselor, maybe they get tons of recommendations, okay? So maybe let them read your statement. Whoever's gonna write something about you, because this is actually a form. So our recommendation is a form. They rank you in different areas. They have outstanding, excellent, and I don't know, okay? So you want to pick the people who know you the best, who's going to write the best things, okay? But so we'll leave that up to you. You can pick a mentor. It's tricky when you pick a mentor and the mentor says that they've known you since you were a kid, okay? Because maybe it's already a family friend, okay? So no family or friends, even if they're nurses, okay? So no family, personal friends. So once you submit the application, January 15th, they have until January 25th to submit the letter. So it's not due at the same time, okay? And we'll be in contact with you. We'll send you an email and say, hey, one recommender has not filled it out, okay? Maybe you can switch it. Maybe we can send it to somebody else. And by the way, you cannot see what they write about you, okay? Never, even if you're offered admission. So think about it. If one recommender doesn't fill it out after you went all the work, you did the application, you did your awesome statement and everything, one person didn't complete your recommendation, your application is incomplete and will not go forward for review, okay? So we're gonna stay on top of it together, okay? So you help us, we help you, and we monitor your recommenders, okay? But it's a good idea to let them read your statement, because we've seen a lot of things in the recommendations, and there's people sometimes that write, I didn't know this person was interested in nursing, okay? So make sure you pick wisely, okay? So on your resume, it's all of your work, maybe for if you're high school, maybe you don't have that much work experience, but that's okay, you know? Just put all your volunteering activities, your community service, arts, you know, everything counts. So write it in here. So just put the dates of activities with a little description of what you did. If you like went out and fed the homeless or you did community service, even for a day, you can write it, okay? So 2 pages in chronological order, okay? So you can go to like monster.com or any website that can help you write a resume. So we don't have like a format for it. Okay? So this is for transfer applicants only. This is the address where you would send the transcripts, but it's also on your packet. And we'll go over once we break out. So you don't have to write this down, it's on your packet, okay? So this is Mark, and I'm Jamie. Stephanie was outside. Rhonda couldn't be here, but we are the 4 people that process the applications, but not only just for undergraduate, we process all the applications for the School of Nursing. So how this works is that the School of Nursing makes the admission recommendations. Once the applications are reviewed, they tell UCLA, this is the people we want to admit. And then you're offered admission. That's how that works, okay? So we can say that we don't see your high school transcripts or your SAT scores here. Those are actually looked at by the undergraduate admissions when you do the UC application. They have special readers. They go over your application. So they also have like a holistic review, just like us, but they score you from 1 to 5. And 1 is the best. So they give us a list and they say, this is the people who chose the nursing major. And I forgot to say, for the UC application, you have to select nursing as the major. You cannot do undeclared or undecided, and because we'll never look at your application, even if you submit the supplemental, okay? Because nursing is pretty impacted. So we cannot be your second choice, sorry, okay? You have to be your first choice, so you have to go to UC, you pick LA as the campus, and then you pick nursing as the major, okay? So for undergraduate, yes, a lot of people apply, a lot of people select nursing as the major, but they never do the supplemental, okay? So they're automatically denied because they never completed the second part, okay? Anybody has questions about the application? Yes? No, we only have space for 2. So the question is if you can put 3, but no, it's only for 2 people. Yes.
And also, I believe you take calculus for one of the courses. If you already took AP calculus in high school and you passed the test, do you still have to take it again in college?
I think you depends on the score.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it depends on the score. For calculus specifically, you have to score a 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we score a 5, then we'll be able to use that in place of the Math 3A. But that does not mean then you're taking one less class, because you still want to
Yeah.
maintain your full-time status. So you'll most likely be taking another class if it's an elective or whatever the case is.
Yeah, so the curriculum for nursing is pretty set, like Mark's mentioned before. So you're not gonna be fighting for a spot in any class, because all of your spots are guaranteed, okay? So the curriculum is basically set. Maybe you can minor, and because UCLA does not allow double bachelors, but they offer a lot of minors, and that's the advantage of being here, because it's tons of things you can pick from, okay? You had a question, yes? Okay, yes.
Okay, so before you were talking about multicultural experiences, and I think specifically you were talking about multicultural experiences in medical settings, like in hospitals, but what if we had cultural experiences like in our lives, in our families, or?
You can talk about it too, yes. Or like if you did a trip abroad, it counts as multicultural experience, all of that, yes.
And then for another question, for volunteering, I know you said to put down dates. Do they have to be specific dates? Like what if you had a commitment that was 4 years long or 7 years long? Do you have to have like, I started August 25th in 2005.
But just put the approximate, but I would recommend that the experience is recent by the time you apply. It's better. It makes you more competitive. Yeah, yes.
A general question, because I guess you're looking at transfers and freshmen. If someone's transferring from a community college, are there odds better of getting into the UCLA nursing program than a freshman, just mathematically? I mean,
Well,
they've completed 2 years already, they've taken certain classes, they've demonstrated success, so
Yeah.
mathematically.
well, transfer students actually do great once they transfer into UCLA, because yes, they've already completed general education, okay, and then they concentrate just in the nursing.
Is that an advantage?
But it's a small program, so we admit very few, only 10 transfers.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
But one other thing, so
Yeah.
freshmen are looked at separately from transfers.
Yes.
That's another thing, right? So
Yeah.
they're not competing.
No.
Yeah.
And transfer students, you're not competing against UCLA actual current students, okay? You're only competing against outside applicants. Because let's say if you were to apply to UCLA and you didn't put nursing, you came undeclared and you actually were offered admission and you came to UCLA, you cannot switch your major into nursing, okay? I know, yeah. Maybe in the future, but not right now, because we're a very small school. Because if we let UCLA students transfers, switch to nursing, we'll never have an open spot for anybody that applies from the outside. Okay, more questions about the application? Yes.
The resume is limited to 2 pages, like it cannot exceed.
Well, we prefer it to be 2, but if it goes over 3, it's okay. Yes.
For the resume, does it have to be a specific format?
No specific format. Yes. You just have to shine in the resume. And maybe you can let somebody else read your statement, because sometimes it's hard to talk about so good about yourself, but maybe another person can say, hey, maybe you forgot to mention this. You forgot to, to write about this. So get help by all means. So we're going to be here, all of us, at the end of the session, and I'm going to stay here with the transfer group, but we'll be here if you have more questions about the application. Okay, we just have to put this disclaimer here. I know we also made a copy and put it in your packet. But we just have to tell you that nursing is pretty competitive. Okay, but let's say that somebody had a perfect GPA and had a really good SAT, but they never volunteered, they never took the time to learn about nursing, they're not gonna be offered admission. Okay, so it's a holistic review. The faculty look at the big picture. They look at everything. So GPA is important, but it's not the most important thing. Okay, so don't get discouraged and apply. Okay? Okay.
All right, everybody, so I'm going to introduce Craig Kusunoki.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name's Craig, and I wanted to give you some information on what it costs to attend this program, so you know what you're getting into, and what types of financial aid we have available here. Inside your packet, there is a sheet, 2018-2019 undergraduate budgets. Those are the current costs, so you can kind of use that as a reference. But the first thing you're going to notice is the tuition currently is $13,225 per year. And as Mark stated, we're on the quarter system, so there's 3 quarters of 10 weeks, so you pay quarterly. So 13,225 divided by 3 is like 4,000 something that's due each quarter. If you are a non-California resident, you could see there at the bottom, it's quite a bit more. It's $13,225 plus the non-resident tuition of $28,992. And the reason for that is we are a public institution. We run on public state funds, so if you're not a California resident, well, you don't get the same benefits as someone who has at least gone to high school here for 3 years. You could see there on the slide that you pay one fee, and it's a flat fee, so it doesn't matter how many units you are taking. When Mark showed the schedule, you know, it varied 12, 13, 14, whatever. It costs the same every quarter. It doesn't matter how many units you're taking, but 12 units for an undergraduate is full-time. So you never want to go below 12 units for financial aid purposes, and just, you know, as a student, UCLA is a full-time school. So 12 units is the minimum for that. Normally, classes at UCLA are 4 units a class. So 12 units is generally 3 classes. Now, in high school, you're probably taking more, and you're going to say, well, 3 classes is easy. UCLA is not easy. 12 units is actually very difficult. Starting off, you're going to have things like chemistry and what have you. You all have over 4.0 GPAs. I mean, I've been here 11 years. I've been at UCLA for 30 years. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a, nursing for sure, I've never seen anyone graduate with a 4.0. I think 3.7 is the highest I've ever seen. So this is a very difficult school, very difficult program. Okay, and if you look at your sheet, it's separated into 3 categories. You have the residence halls. You might think of another word would be dorms. So you're living on campus. You have off campus, which means the student lives in their own apartment, and you have commuter, which means you live at home with your parents. If you get admitted to UCLA, we want you to live on campus. In fact, 98% of freshmen live on campus. That's just, you know, how it works. So even if you feel you live close enough to school where we're going to commute, we prefer you to live on campus, and don't think that you're going to save money because you want to live at home, because students that live on campus, you're going to get a lot more grant money to cover the difference. Okay, so to try to save money, that really isn't a reason to live on campus, because you get more grant money. Okay, so you could see here that the projected budget for 1 year, and you could see all the categories. tuition, room and board, books and supplies, transportation, personal expenses, health insurance. Now, if you are covered on your parents' health insurance, you could waive out of the UCLA insurance, but but if you don't have any outside coverage, you are required to buy the UCLA health insurance. And you could see there that it's $2,225 per year. The average cost for housing to live on campus is $15,816. So we give everybody the average allotment. It could be more, it could be less. It depends on what dorm you're living in, how many meals you're buying per week, things like that. But that's the average. So you could see there that the housing is actually more expensive than the tuition. And if you live on campus, Westwood is a fairly expensive area, so we give an allotment of, I think it's $925 a month for rent. Okay, that's not gonna get you your own apartment. You're gonna have roommates, but that's what we give as an allotment for rent. Okay, so you could see here that, well, there's my information if you want to contact me, if you have questions after this, and we are going to be here afterwards. If you want to ask any of us individually a question, maybe you don't want to ask it in the group, you can come up to us afterwards and ask any questions you have. Or if you think of something later, there's my email address. What you want to do is you want to fill out what's called the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A. That stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Now, every college and university in a country uses the same application, so you could, include multiple universities. You're probably not just going to apply to UCLA. You want to probably apply to a few schools. Very important that the deadline is March 2nd, 2019. That's very important for California schools, because if you miss that deadline, you're automatically going to make yourself ineligible for certain grants and work study. So you definitely want to get it on time. The application is actually available now. It opened up October 1st, and it's going to ask for 2017 tax information. So you would already have that available. The rules changed, I think, just 2 years ago, so now they're going to what they call prior year instead of using the most recent one. It would have been 2018 taxes, but you wouldn't have had those done yet, so a lot of times you would have to submit estimated information, but you do have it. And as a dependent student, you do have to include parent information. So you can't say you're independent. I mean, you might be as a transfer student. The age for an independent student, as far as the federal government is concerned, is 24 years old. So if you're coming into high school, by 24 you're going to be graduated. So you're always going to have to put down your parent information. Sometimes transfer students are a little bit older, so sometimes they may be independent, but it's 24 years old. Otherwise, you have to put down your parent information. And you could see there that the school code for UCLA is 001315. Okay, so when you fill out the FAFSA, you could see there that you're gonna establish a username and password. And like I said, the application is available now, but you don't wanna miss the March 2nd deadline, but on the same hand, if you turn it in earlier, that doesn't mean you're gonna get more financial aid, okay? Just get it in by March 2nd. You don't necessarily have to go home tonight and fill it out, okay? Just, it is available, so if you wanna do it early, that's up to you. The Cal Grant is one of the big awards that you will get here, and your high school or community college would do the grade point average verification form for you. Okay, so let me just back up here and kind of give you some information on the FAFSA. You're probably going to wonder, I'm putting in all this income information. how is it determined who gets what? There's a lot of factors that go into the FAFSA, things like how many people are in the household, how many people in the family are in college. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But what I can tell you is UCLA has what is called the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan. So if your parent combined income is under $80,000, those are the students that get the best financial aid. You're guaranteed to at least get your tuition covered. Okay, that's all there is to it. If your parent combined income is under $80,000, you're at least going to get your tuition covered, but it could go as high as $26,000, okay, if you're the most needy category. The second tier is, it goes up to $162,000, which the state of California considers middle class, okay, $162,000. If you're under that, you're going to get something as far as grants, at least $2,000, I would say. If you're above that, unless you have, more than one person in college, it's probably going to be maybe just loans. But everyone who does a FAFSA is eligible for something. Okay, the student loans for a student, currently the interest rate is 5.05%. And as a parent, if you want to help out with what's called a Parent Plus loan, the interest rate is 7.5% interest. Now, the good thing about student loans is you don't have to start paying these back until 6 months after you graduate, even the parent loan. Now, just the reality of college in these times, I'd say most of our students do end up taking loans. In fact, our graduating class that graduated in June, the average loan debt was $23,000 per student. Okay, just to let you know. But that's how it is, throughout the country. You're not going to get grants and scholarships to cover the full $34,000. I'd say. I mean, you might if you're hustling for a lot of scholarships. You might, but there's also what's called a self-help component that each student has, where the university has expected you to put in about $9,000 of your own, either through work or student loans or savings or what have you. Okay, so nobody's going to get all grants and scholarships to cover the full thing. Usually there is some loan component to that. Okay, so you should be looking for scholarships through your high school. That's a good place to start. Or once you start applying to UCLA, you're gonna start hearing about things like the Regents Scholarship, alumni, and if you do end up attending the School of Nursing here, we do have nursing scholarships that donors give to UCLA, and they want them specifically to go to nursing students. But we don't give those out until your third year, because that's when you start taking the bulk of the nursing classes. So those particular nursing scholarships are reserved for juniors and seniors, but most of the students that I see coming in from high school, they do get scholarships, outside scholarships that you're applying for through your high school or your community. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna be here afterwards with Mark and Jamie. So if you have any individual questions, feel free to come up to me, okay?
Okay, so here's one of our, I believe they might have just graduated this past year of our nursing class. So as you guys probably noticed, as you guys walked up the steps, that's typically what happens at the beginning of the year. They go out, take a picture, then they look back and see, what they look like 3 to 4 years later. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and break out into rooms. So transfer students are gonna stay here with Jamie. And then parents are gonna come up with me, as well as high school students are gonna come up as well. We're gonna meet on the second floor, okay? To finish up there. Also, just so you guys know, there are evaluations in your packet, so if you guys could fill that out too as well. At the end, you don't have to do it now, that'd be great.
Okay, I think you can all hear me, right? So we'll talk about transfer applicants. And I get C is, the equivalent of general education. So I get C applies to community colleges in California, okay? So we're all familiar with that. And that's the list of prerequisites. So if you're all familiar with assist.org, I mean, it hasn't worked for like the last year, but the information there is pretty accurate. So when we get your transfer application, we open Assist on our computer. So we just go by whatever Assist says, that you need in order to transfer. So as you can see, calculus, communication, microbiology, and psychology, you can take at UCLA. And I'll show it to you. And you also have a copy of the course sequence. So those 4 classes, yes, you can take at UCLA. My 2 cents, take calculus at your school, okay? Well, Armin doesn't know yet, but, well, calculus, if you wait and you're offered admission, you're gonna be competing for a grade with a lot of people, even engineering students. So you can do it. I mean, of course, other students do it. But if you have the chance, you can do it at your own school, okay? If not, they will probably place you like in pre-cal if you don't think that you can do calc. They can do pre-cal, and there's a lot of resources here. So we even have like a chemistry tutor because we want you to pass, okay? And then, like I said before, usually transfer students do awesome. They do the best because you're over the general ed. You're not over there taking chemistry with 200 other students. You're done. You have your classes. You're just concentrated in nursing. So yes, you might have some space in the curriculum, especially if you took most of the prerequisites, but you can minor. You can do that. You can take classes that interest you because you don't have to pay less if you take less classes. So if you have the space, you can minor in something else. And there's tons of things that you can do. You can do public health classes. You can do basically anything you want here, okay? So for the chemistry, I'll just have to say that depending on the school that you go to, usually it's 3 chemistry classes. It's like 3 semesters. So the first 2 you have to take at the same school. So you cannot take one chemistry, the one half here and another half at a different school. You have to take them together. So sometimes, for example, let's say that you took microbiology and psychology already, okay? But maybe your school didn't have the life science class because a lot of them don't have it. Still apply, okay? So if you don't have a class, but maybe you already took one of the prerequisites with the STAR, we can let you take it here in the summer. Or we can switch it in the curriculum, okay? Because we want you to apply and we want you to get admitted. So we will help you in that sense. So when you apply, you fill out these prerequisites and you say, I took human anatomy, I'm currently taking physiology, I will take chemistry. So you have a plan and we will work with your plan as long as your plan is realistic. And you don't say that you're gonna take all the chemistries in one semester in the spring because probably that's not realistic, okay? So yes. If they waived it, it has to be the equivalent though. It has to be the equivalent of like UCLA 14A and B. So you can send us the course description and the information from your college because every college is different. So they all have different classes. We can look at the course descriptions and let you know. But basically, if you go to a community college, assist, and that's it. But if you go to a university, we can have some, input into where the classes, but we really don't know your schools. We know UCLA, and we know the classes that are offered here, but at your school, we don't know the classes, so you're welcome to send us course descriptions, and we can let you know if the courses are equivalent. Okay? Yes?
We don't have to take the labs that go to those ones, right? Like if I've taken 14 A, B, and C here, and I took, because the labs are separate for extension.
Okay. That's a good question. I don't think you have to do the lab. Yeah, I don't think you have to do the lab.
No, I guess
Yeah.
for chemistry you have to. For molecular biology and biology classes, you might not take lab.
The lab.
Chemistry you have.
We have to check on that.
It's 3 separate classes then.
You
Yeah.
need to take, I was doing
Uh-huh.
chemistry classes, and I was going to take at UCLA extension
Mm-hmm.
chemistry without lab. So it wasn't allowed because you have to have labs as
Yeah, I believe you have to have the labs.
well. Labs, yeah.
Okay, because it didn't say that on your.
I know we don't require the labs for the other programs, but for this one, yes. We can check on that. You can email one of us, yeah. So for those, I'm sorry, I haven't introduced Armin. He's a transfer student. So he recently got admitted. So he's gonna be here, and you will have a chance to ask him anything you want, okay? You had a question, yes?
What about like those AP test classes? If you pass it,
It depends on the score.
it depends on the score.
Yeah, so like if you took AP Psych in high school, if you got a score of a 4 or 5, you can use it.
Yeah, but for chemistry, it has to be
Yeah. It has to be, yeah. It cannot be like the intro, I believe, because we have to look at the course description. Yeah, but having more prerequisites completed makes you more competitive as an applicant. Okay? Yes.
You said that there's 3 semesters for the chemistry. What if I've only taken 1? I can take the other 2 here, or I have to take.
No. So the first 2 you have to take at the same school. Maybe the third one you can take here because that's organic chem. That's the equivalent, I think, of 30A. You can take that here. Like if that's the only thing you need, we can be like, oh, okay, we want to admit this person. Come in and take it in the summer. Okay? So you will technically apply 1 year before. Okay? So for 2019, you apply right now. So, you put in the application November 30th, so you technically have a year. You can take classes, but just let us know what your plan is. Don't leave it blank on the application. You just say, I plan, this is my plan, and we'll work with your plan. Okay? Okay. So this is the sample course sequence. You also have it in your packet. So, see how we have on the first year fall, we have a place for Psych 10. So we have a place for psychology. But let's say maybe you didn't take organic chem, but you were offered admission, maybe you can take it here. Okay? Because it's always offered. We can work with this curriculum as far as the elective goes. The others have their space, and you have to take them in sequence because you cannot go to clinicals and then do the theory. So you all have to do the theory and then you do the clinicals. So that's how it works, okay? Like it says there, if psych, you completed it, then you can do a 5-unit elective or you can do a prerequisite. But you have to do it because it's part of the program, yes?
So I know that including college is like different numbers.
It's different numbers, yeah.
But is there a way like we can find out what the
Yeah, so you log into assist.org. Assist.org, it's a website where all the community colleges in California made agreements with 4-year universities, and they tell you, you just have to say, I go College of the Canyons, I want to transfer to UCLA, and then you put nursing, and it gives you the list of every prerequisite you need in order to transfer. So you can be pending your IGETC, it's okay. You can, you know, maybe you need 1 or 2 classes, that's still okay. We do that all the time. We'll just, you can be offered admission pending your IGETC certification. Okay? So, as you can see, winter, spring, even summer, you'll be really busy. Yes.
How many LVNs do you take?
No preference. No advantage either. Yeah, I mean, it's nice that somebody has the LVN experience or CNA or EMTs. It's okay, as long as you're not a nurse. Yes, yes, because there are programs for RNs to do the BSN, but unfortunately, we don't offer those programs here. That's called like a bridge program, where you get your associate's degree in nursing, and then you transfer to a BSN program. We don't offer that program here. We used to, but not anymore. Yes. Money. I would say. Budget. Yeah. So we're still a public school. We're very small. So they terminated that program a long time ago. It was called like a bridge program. Yeah, because the main, you know, objective of the program is to prepare you to become a nurse. So you cannot apply if you already have an RN degree. Yes.
So, because in my situation is like I've completed the nursing degree in the Philippines, and I have my transcript.
With the BSN?
Yeah. The thing is though, I feel like my transcript it's not sufficient for the board exam for NCLEX. So I'm thinking.
And
about
you've
maybe-
contacted the nurse, the Board of Registered Nursing?
Not yet.
You should.
But then because my classmates, that's what they told me. That's what everyone. Well, my
Yeah.
batch actually, my entire batch.
Uh-huh.
They weren't qualified, and they were given recommendations to take
Some classes.
Yeah.
Yes, so unfortunately, we don't offer individual classes here. All of the classes we offer have to be part of our programs.
Yeah. So the
So,
question now is, what if
Like if your degree was not equivalent, or maybe you went
there's,
to,
like, lacking
aha,
subjects?
yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, what if I just apply in UCLA, maybe like credit some subjects,
Yeah.
the little ones, and I'm willing to retake.
They will
the
know.
green ones.
They will know if you have a bachelor's degree. And since you cannot earn a double bachelor's degree here, they will not offer you admission. Yeah, we have that happen. Like, not somebody that said that they never attended college and they did. So then they cannot be offered admission as freshmen. Because even if you went to college for 1 class, you cannot apply as a freshman anymore. It has to be transfer. Go get your BSN and then come to our master's program. Go to a Cal State. Go to a Cal State.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
but then I mean UCLA is close.
And then come back for our master's degree.
Yeah.
We can talk about it more, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. So this is the sample course sequence, you know, year 1, 2, and 3. You kind of start with as a freshman, but then you jump and you become a junior in the 2nd year, and then a senior. So our transfer program is 3 years. Okay? So like I said, it's pretty much set. So, and it's pretty intensive. So most of the students in this program don't work. Maybe they volunteer because they like it a lot, but they don't work. So good luck on your application. We're here to help you. You can email us if you have a question about a class or anything, but Armin is here to answer Any questions that you may have for him? You can ask him any secrets and how he did to get into UCLA.